The Georgetown Hoyas are 7-1-4 as we welcome in Julia Leas to the Big East Exchange. Julia, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome in and congratulations to a pretty successful start to the season. When you look at what you and your teammates have done so far, before we get into the real thick of conference play, what are some of these big achievements?
I think looking back on our season so far, it's always easier to reflect than in the moment. I think obviously our 1-1 draw at home against Stanford was like a big one. And the most exciting part about that is like we left that game knowing that we should have probably gotten the win, and it was a mistake in the final 5 minutes that kind of cost us the goal. And it was a phenomenal free kick, but like we were like, we just played the number 2 team in the country toe to toe on our home field and honestly could have gotten more. So that's just been like super exciting. And I think that we still have so much more in us to unlock, that we're still trying to figure out how to get all of our players to be performing at their peak and be performing as a unit. So we've had some successes, although it doesn't always feel like it after some games, because I think our expectations for ourselves are so high this year. And we know we just have so much more in us to unlock.
Mm. Tons of success already in conference play, 3-0-1 in Big East play. What are some of the things that maybe you have learned about the team or the team has settled into in conference that you were kind of working through prior to Big East play?
I think one thing, characteristically Georgetown, we've had a pretty stingy defense. And so I think kind of keeping that rolling, we obviously had a couple missteps along the way with conceding a few more goals than normal. But I think like getting back to keeping shutouts and just preventing opportunities from other teams, that's something that like we can always lean on this team to know like, hey, we're going to get it done defensively. And kind of keep that locked down back there. And I think another thing is so many different people have stepped up to score goals, which is great when it's not all just coming from one person. I think like our first 6 or 7 goals of the year were all scored by different people. So I think it's great that so many different players can score, and we can score them in so many different types of ways. And now it's just continuing to find consistency in our performances and in our players, and kind of riding off of some like streaks and confidence, like when you do get that first goal in, knowing that you're going to score another one or you're going to score the next game, and we're going to keep the shutouts on the defensive end.
Let's stay on the defensive end for a second, Julia. You're a big part of that defensive end. Also, your goalkeeper, Ali Auger, you've had the opportunity to play with her throughout the years. What's your relationship like?
Um, well, I think me and Ali spend our entire lives together. We actually live in a studio apartment together right now too,
A
just
studio. A
yeah,
studio?
we took out the living room couch, so we each have our own bed. But I think that then translates on the field. We are just always on the same page. We have like unspoken communication. We have these looks that we'll give each other during games. Like after she makes a big play or I make a big play, and it's like, oh, thank gosh for you. Um, and so I think it's just that trust that we've been able to build up. And like I have so much confidence in her, and she has so much confidence in me, that we're going to show up every single day and work our hardest and play our best. So I think the belief that we have in each other, and even being confident in each other when we might not be confident in ourselves, is like the biggest piece, especially just being like a solid back line, because it's all about just communication, connection on the defensive end.
Mm. Do we have the pleasure? Is Ali home right now? Do we get to say hi to Ali? Is
I am actually at school right now. All of her
I was gonna
classes
say, I
are
was like, this would be
online.
classic if we could get a 2-for-1.
No, that would be great. But all of hers are online, so she takes them all from the studio, and all of mine are in person. So she's running that studio apartment.
Uh, your game on Thursday against Xavier is on FS1.
Mhm.
You've had plenty of games on national television before, but to really let that sink in of just how special it is, what is it like when you do have the opportunity to play in front of such a huge audience?
It's always just such like an honor and such a pleasure. And it just gets me so excited knowing that our team and Xavier as well have the opportunity to just play our part in keeping spreading like the conversation around women's soccer and like putting in a good performance, putting in a gritty performance, putting in an athletic performance, putting in a tactical performance is so important when you're on the national stage, is to keep garnering respect for women's soccer, and keep popularizing it throughout America.
Julia, your game on Thursday will be the 91st game for you as a Hoya. 91 games. When you think about your playing time at Georgetown, how do you put it into words? Still plenty of games, but how do you put this experience into words?
Um, like I don't, and there aren't the right words to just express how grateful and how much fun I've had, and especially how much I've learned throughout my 5 years at Georgetown. But I think kind of throughout the rest of the season, like something I've realized is every single time I get to put on my jersey and like step on the field with my teammates, like never take it for granted and really appreciate every single game that I have left on the hilltop, because like more so than ever, it's not a finish line, but it's just going to be the end of a chapter coming up in the next few months. And so I think just being grateful for every single experience and like every single memory like we're about to make on our 5-day road trip, enjoying the company of my teammates is kind of what I'm going to take with me through the rest of this season. And like the opportunities that I've been given is just incredible.
You mentioned some of the things that you've learned. What are some of the biggest things that you've learned on the pitch at your time at Georgetown?
Mm-hmm. Um, my time at Georgetown's kind of showed me that like hard work never goes unnoticed and unappreciated as much as it may seem. Like I base pretty much my entire game off of the premise of I'm going to outwork my opponent. I take that mentality to the field. I take it to the practice pitch. I take it to my own like individual trainings. And so I really think I have seen the value of hard work kind of pay off, which is really exciting. Um, Again, like appreciation for the game. You never really know when it's going to be taken from you or when something comes up. So just like enjoy every moment that you get to spend on the field. And I think lastly, like the importance of leadership as I've kind of gone through this program, seen the great leaders that have come before me. And now being one of the leaders on this team, just like understanding the impact that you can make regardless of your soccer ability, with your presence, with your support, with your communication, with your expectations. Even if you're having an off day on the field, your touch isn't great. I've learned there's so many other ways to impact the game through supporting my teammates, challenging my teammates, keeping those expectations for my teammates and myself. And that's something that like I had no idea you had the power to do as a freshman.
Mm. When you think of, you mentioned some expectations, some team expectations for you and your teammates this season. When you think of the year that you had last year and continuing to build off of it, what are some of the team goals that you've made, and the how have the standards been set even higher maybe for you guys this season?
Mm-hmm. I think naturally there's kind of they're not really goals at this point. They're expectations for us to be winning the Big East regular season, to be winning the Big East championship. And it's kind of sad. I'm the only one left on the team who's lost a Big East final. My freshman year, we lost it to Xavier. They beat us 2-0 out at Creighton. And just trying to tell everyone on the team, like, hey, like it's really, really bad. Like you don't want to be doing that. And they beat us, and they beat us well in that final. So trying to just like instill that desire and that drive in my teammates is something that I've been looking on, because at this point with like our last 3 finals in a row, it seems so simple. Like Georgetown's probably just going to win the Big East, but like every single team is so talented in our conference, and every single team brings a different challenge. And especially going into play Xavier on Thursday, it's super exciting because this is a rivalry that's kind of blossomed throughout my time here. And they have just grown so much as a program and have so many talented, hardworking players. And it's always just like a battle to play against them. So I think going back to kind of like some of our goals on the season, obviously those expectations are set, but we've really just focused on like the day-to-day things and like taking it one day at a time. And if we do everything to the best of our ability and we prepare well, we work hard, we're working on our team bonding, tactics, communications, then ultimately we're going to have the season that we want to have.
You mentioned it a little, Julia, but it really has become a rivalry between you and Xavier. It's developed, the Hoyas and Xavier. It's developed over the years. Take us into playing those games. What's the energy like in the locker room? What are some of, the pregame jitters maybe that come in when you've got this natural little rivalry that's developed?
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's honestly great because it's one of those games that like it's so easy to wake up for. Like when Thursday morning rolls around, I'll be like eyes open at like 7 a.m. being like, oh my gosh, I still have to wait like all day for the game. I think with playing Xavier, you can never take a play off. They are just workhorses of players out there. And it's like, you'll be playing like against one forward for 10 minutes. She'll be doing great. Then she'll sub off and they'll put another equally talented forward with like a slightly different skill set in. And then she'll come out and then they'll move another forward in or like push a midfielder up. And it's just like always coming at you 100 miles an hour. So I think our biggest challenge is like, don't let the, all of the emotions kind of get into our game. And like, they like to make it frantic. They like to put us under pressure. They like to make things happen. They're going to chase balls down. So from us, it's just being able to like keep our sense of collective composure in those moments. And when the game's going 101 miles an hour, maybe pull back, be a little bit more tactical with our play, possess a little, and just take a minute to breathe and reestablish ourselves in the game. But like at the end of the day, like I'm a physical player, like I love getting into it. So like I'm never gonna complain about playing Xavier. Like I just love getting into like some of those tackles, those air balls, those feisty challenges. So,
Let's get to know you and your teammates a little bit more. Okay, so we know you are the on the field. You like to get aggressive. Who's going to be the one who is the calming presence on your team?
Calming presence. I've got to say Eliza Turner, I think, is one of the calming presence because she is just so methodical in her play. You can give her any type of ball in the middle and you know she's somehow going to deal with it. She's like very much soft spoken on the field, like not going to say many words, but it's one of those people that like she has the power to unlock games and change games without saying a word or really doing anything out of the ordinary. So I think she's always helpful to like settle things down and sure things down in there. And then Ali and I, we balance each other out well. Like we'll both have our moments, but then at the end of the day, like we know only one of us can be having a moment at once. So like if something's going on with her, I can be that like a little bit reasonable head, level head. And when I have my moment, she's like, Julia, like you got this. Like next one, relax. Like it's gonna be great.
Everyone might not be coming over to your and Allie's studio apartment for family dinner. Maybe, or maybe just crowding everyone in. Who's gonna be hosting and maybe doing all the cooking for team dinner?
Oh, hosting and cooking for team dinner. It's definitely going to be a combination of the current senior class. They three of them have a house together, and this is going to be the product of Alex Bear for sure. She is just like the hostess with the mostest, like a social butterfly. Like everyone could be asleep on the bus, and she'll hear like one person peep, and she'll like immediately go over to their seat and like start a conversation with them, and like she just always like wants everyone to have a good time. So she's definitely hosting it at their house.
Julia, you play for a legend, Dave Nolan. I need to get your best Dave Nolan impression. Give me something.
Oh my gosh. I gotta think of the right one. He likes going like when someone has a bad touch of an ironing board. And then you guys know we all gave him so much slack last year because he kept calling it the tree P instead of means a three-peat. I think those are some good ones. Or then if you say something he doesn't like, he's got that shut your pie hole.
We love it. Oh, Julia, always a pleasure. Congratulations so far on the success you've had this season. Best of luck the rest of the way. You can catch Julia and the Georgetown Hoyas on FS1 at 7 p.m. Eastern time Thursday night as they take on Xavier in what is bound to be a fantastic Big East battle. Julia, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Meg.